here. Thank you for joining us. My name is Mary Margaret Lang, and I am the coordinator of business development here at Paro. And I have jumped in today for Lori Morin, who had another business commitment this morning, and I'm happy to do so. I would like to, the title of our presentation today is, I believe, is 5 ways to build a successful e-commerce business, which sounds pretty exciting to me. In any case, I want to introduce to you Patria. She has come to speak with us today, and her company is Dontria Consulting Corporation. She is an operations consultant, and her firm does operations consulting and strategic advisory services, and they provide their services to small business owners so that they can manage all of the aspects of their daily operations and oversee projects to ensure that their business remains aligned with their goals and objectives. Her company prides themselves on the way they work collaboratively with their clients and focuses on the needs of their clients and ensures that solutions are tailored to your unique needs. So without any further ado, if I have missed anything, Patria, please do fill us in on what it is you do or your company does. And away we go. I will monitor the chat. Patria has suggested that we hold questions till the end. If it's a really burning question, she's happy to respond, and I will monitor the chat for any questions that come up.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mary. I think you've covered it basically. So I do have a background in project management and business analysis, and therefore I offer those skills, as you mentioned, from a consulting perspective. So you've nailed it.
Good. I'm
Okay.
gonna mute my.
Okay, for sure. And I'm gonna start sharing now.
As Patria starts to share, I just want to share with everyone that this session will be recorded and you will have access to the recording once it is complete. If you don't wish to be seen, by all means, turn your camera off. But I would ask, if you are going to ask Patria a question, I would ask if you could turn your camera on just for that part, if that's okay. All right. Launching your online business. Away we go.
Yeah. All right. So good morning again, everyone, and thanks for having me today. We're going to be looking at launching an online business, but we're looking at it both from a product and a service perspective. So a lot of time when we think e-commerce, we're thinking more product-based, but there has been growth, particularly in the service sector for e-commerce as well. So my presentation will be twofold, speaking about it from both a product and service perspective. So once again, just an overview of the presentation. When we think about it, the way we do business in the last 10 years has drastically changed, and not to mention the last 5 years when COVID was a big thing, right? A lot of both products and services were done from in the home or from remote locations. So there has been a shift away from that brick and mortar space per se. If nothing else, what the last 5 years would have shown us is that whatever we thought was impossible is actually possible, or a lot of what we thought was impossible is actually possible. So the way business operate and how consumers actually shop for goods and services has been transformed by e-commerce, right? We are now faced with both an opportunity in this e-commerce space as well as challenges due to how rapidly e-commerce is growing. What I'll be looking at is exploring various steps on how to build the e-commerce business. We're going to also look at the importance of adapting to changes, and I'll provide you with some strategies as how to exceed as well in this marketplace. Um, sorry, at the end of each, what I would say step, you will see me give some tools and techniques, and I'll also have a small demonstration of some of these tools um, for operating in an e-commerce space. So some of what we're going to be looking at today um, is market research and planning, how to brand your business, as well as content creation. We're going to be looking at fulfillment and growth strategies, effective strategies for thriving online, how to select a platform to operate your business, how are you going to market and drive traffic to your business, as well as the importance of adapting to trends in this market space. So the first thing we look at, or the first step, is to plan your e-commerce business. Now, there's an old adage by Benjamin Franklin that says, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail, right? So the first thing for any successful business, whether e-commerce or otherwise, is planning, which brings us to our first thing, market research and planning your business. One other thing you want to focus your efforts on is that you need to find a target audience and possibly niche marketing. So you've come up with this great idea, right? How do you get it out there? The first thing you try to do is find out your target audience and if you're going to be niching in that market. And this helps you to stand out in this competitive market space. It allows you to connect meaningfully with people and also helps you to find the right customers. The next thing you want to do is research your competition. A lot of what you think about, it probably exists already. So you want to find out, is somebody else doing it? How are they doing it? What is the benchmark for what is out there, sorry, and how can I separate myself differently, right? And while you're also planning for launch, you want to look at how am I going to deliver the product? Am I going to be doing like a business to business to client, which is directly delivering the products to them? Because a lot of businesses, especially small businesses that goes into an e-commerce space, they actually do maintain that direct interaction where they go directly to clients, or as we said, in the service side of things, a lot of businesses has now shifted, like giving advice to, let us say, accountants, or you have now a psychotherapist, or, counselors, persons who are offering services. We can now do it in the comforts of our home. So you'd have to determine, how am I going to be delivering my business, my product, my service? And once you decide on how you're going to deliver that, then it impacts how you're going to be generating your revenue. It helps you to manage your operations and it allows you to grow over time. The best business model for an e-commerce business, it also depends on your goals, your resources, and your target audience. So once again, once you've narrowed down who it is that you want to target, it can help you to determine how you will deliver your product or service. Now, we mentioned earlier about planning. So it would be remiss of me not to talk about a very important factor or a very important task that you need to complete, and this is a business plan. The business plan helps you to clearly define your goals, clearly define your target market and how you'll operate in it. And it keeps the vision focused, right? So once you have everything all laid out, you're not just winging it. The key to having a good business plan is that you'd be able to flesh out your what, your who, your how, and your why. And for everyone who is joining me in this space, I can attest that an avenue like this, working with Paro, they actually help you once you have that thought to bring it to fruition. And they actually help you to create very good business plans. So if you're struggling with creating a business plan, then I would definitely recommend that you can connect with someone from the Paro team, and they will actually help you create a detailed business plan and get you started on your way. Now, if you're creating a business or starting up a business, the next thing you want to do is look at your startup cost and your budget. We always talk about it what? It takes money to make money. So you have to look at how will your business survive in the long term? What's your budget? Right? You have to save up that initial capital. So you have to have the numbers in front of you. So it's very good to estimate a startup cost and budget for your business. Now, some other ways of doing this, and this brings us into one of our first activities for today. Some of the ways when you're starting a business, it may seem daunting, but one of the things that's always good to have, I'm a very like a pen and paper type of person, right? So one of the good things that you should have is different templates, different checklists. And that is why the business plan come into place. Everything is laid out and then you try to follow it. And some of the tools that's very good when you're planning to start a business is to have what we call like a business model canvas, maybe a niche validation checklist, or a competitor research template. And I'll take a step back and give an example. So I have a preteen, right? And nowadays, for her dressing, everything is about baggy pants, flare pants, and stuff like that. So over the weekend or the last few days, something popped up in my social media where the children's place was advertising about flare pants, baggy jeans, and so on. However, when I went to the store, I wasn't very impressed with what they have, and neither was she. So we decided that let us try another store that we always go to, good Old Navy. And guess what? Um, the children's place had a sale going on, but so was Old Navy, right? They also had a very similar promotion going on. And we decided to get some here and get some there. When you're planning your e-commerce business, one of the good things is to have your competitor research template. And what that does, it helps you to analyze what is out there. It gives you a lot of information about your competitors. Remember, we mentioned earlier what you may be offering as a goods or service on your platform may not necessarily be different, but the small acts that you do could be a differentiating factor, right? The small, if somebody's having a sale, or if now is a time period to have a good sale on your product, then look how many of your competitors is doing that and jump in on that. If somebody's offering 40%, could you offer 45? Could you extend your sale period? So it's good to have your competitor list or a competitor research template. If you're niching as well, which niche marketing is when you select one or two industry to kind of just focus on, or one or two activity or product to focus on, then you want to deep dive into evaluating the demand for your goods and services and the growth potential. And I left business model canvas for last because that's where our activity is going to focus on. Now, I'm guessing everybody has muted their mic, but I'm hoping you're seeing this clearly. A business model canvas. You can drop it in the chat if you are. When I started out, when I thought of the idea of what to do, one of the very first thing, this is actually an example of my personal business model canvas when I wanted to get into that space of um, focus more on consulting and training and development and offering my skills to person. And it's not quite a quadrant, but to some extent it is. And what it focuses on are different sectors, and it gives you that idea. It allows you to do that brain dump of what you're thinking about before you actually create your business plan. So some of the things you focus on is your customer segment profile. Now, my background, as I mentioned earlier, is in like project management, business analysis. I am more on that financial services sector side, and I did some work in government for a while. But for the most part, it was more on the finance. So I started to see who would be my target audience. Would it be accountants, life insurance person, bookkeepers, real estate? Because these are where my background lie, right? You look at the size of the company you would like to target. I personally would love to work with small to medium enterprises. So maybe persons, companies that have less than 10 employees and making up to $300,000 per year. Where would I want to be offering my services? I'm in the Durham region. So most of my things would be focused, most of what I do would be focused around Durham, maybe looking at companies 3 to 5 years. My customers, what will their jobs be like? As mentioned earlier, I'd probably target like real estate agents, lawyers, bookkeepers, accountants. Where do I find them? We can't sit around, even though we're talking about working in an e-commerce space, you can't just hide behind that computer, right? You have to get out there. So where would you find some of your potential customers? If you're, especially for those of us who are more on the service side of business, you may want to go to um, n- like Rotary Club meetings or your Chamber of Commerce meetings. You may also want to make presence if you're afraid of public speaking or getting out there. You may want to visit places like the Toastmasters Club. So you go out there, you get involved in these. And the Chamber of Commerce is a very big space to get involved and get out there to find your customers, right? You also want to look at with this business or service that I'm offering, what would the customer gain? If I'm bringing something to the table, what will they be getting? So for me, because I'm more analytical in nature, when I'm offering my service, one of the first thing that I'm going to tell you is that I can help you to get stuff done. I can help you to remove, well, identify the bottlenecks and work our way through them, right? So remove all of those maybe pain points, some of the day-to-day activities. I can help you to fully look at your current state, flush things out, and move that along to take it to like a future state and make your business more efficient. So these are the things that you're saying, okay, this is what my customer has to gain when you're completing your business model canvas. And of course, if you're offering a product or service, you have to look at what are your customer pains? What is it that they want? So you do have something to offer, but what is it that they truly want? How beneficial will my product or my service be to them? And you will jot that down. And these will help you to, as I mentioned, niche better. Another thing with the business model canvas, as I mentioned, is you have it's really not a quadrant because quadrant is four stuff, but it has so many sections of when you're thinking of launching a business or going into an e-commerce space for products or service, what you need to look at. So who could be your key partners? What are some of the activities you need to do? What are your key resources, your value proposition, and so on, your customer relationship, your segments, your channels. So this is something that is more like a summary to help get you started in completing that business plan. Anyone have any questions so far on the, especially surrounding the business model canvas?
I thank you, Patria, for using the business model canvas. We here at Paro do use it quite a lot. And I often counsel my clients that if they use the business model canvas and work with their business advisor, business counselor, they can often take content from that business model canvas and put it right into their business plan.
Correct. It definitely helps you to build out that business plan because as I mentioned earlier, it's almost like that brain mapping or brain dumping to some extent, and it keeps you focused and helps you to build that business plan. Okay, so we were moving on now. We look at step one. We talk about planning. So you've thought of the idea. You've put your pen to paper, you've started creating some artifacts. What's next? We're operating in an e-commerce space, so the next thing to do is set up your online store, right? Creating a website, to be honest, can be one of the most costly part of any startup. However, it doesn't have to be, especially in today's society. Most platform nowadays, they have a plug and play option. And what does that mean? It means that you don't necessarily have to be technically savvy. There's no real coding knowledge that is required for you to do that, right? You just pick a platform, pick a template, and drag and drop your information. Now, some of the platforms that are out there for us to use as small business owners are Shopify, Wix, WordPress, WooCommerce, and Hostinger. A lot of you are probably familiar with Shopify. We're always seeing the ads with Wix or with even WordPress. And as I mentioned, one of the main things about these is that they're very easy, they're very user friendly, and they also tend to be very, very cost effective depending on which one you choose. So let's say, for example, WordPress. If you do like WordPress with Hostinger, then you can pay like $7 a month to maintain that. If you do Wix, for example, it will charge you maybe $17 a month minimum for a Wix template, right? It depends on, let us say, the functionality that you want, the amount of pages you want, the access, because you'll get access to different pictures and templates and different areas well, different functionalities. So it all depends on how long you want to pay for and how much of an access, like how big or how simple you want to make your platform to be. Then the next thing you want to think of is where you're going to host it. You've thought of this website, you've gone on and you've selected one of the platforms. Where are you going to host it? Once again, a very popular one and very cost effective actually is GoDaddy. They do not charge much for a yearly hosting service. I'm trying to remember if it's about $20, $30, but it's not that much for a yearly hosting service on GoDaddy. You could also use like Squarespace, domain.com, DreamHost, and Bluehost, right? Um, you've now created your platform. You have to have a product listing and pricing. And as I mentioned, all of these will be basically somewhere in that template. So it's a very drag and drop type of thing that you're working with when you choose like one of these platforms to start your business. But you'd have already have to think about what is it that you're going to be offering, what type of product, what type of service, um, how much am I going to charge for the product? How much am I going to charge for the service? Is it going to be like per hour? If you're in the service industry, is it going to be like a package? So you retain for 20 hours per the week, or you retain me for a month, then what will that look like? So you have to package your goods or service. And once again, you have to do that market research and develop a pricing list for your business. So this is where like that competitor review comes back in place. If somebody is offering this, how much do I offer? Right? And I will never tell you to say, if somebody's offering this, go lower. You're going to know your value. So you'll have to put that pricing to your product or to your service. Now, once you're doing a website, don't make it cumbersome. Use user-friendly design. And some of the things are one of the main features with a lot of these plug and plays is that they tend to be very easy to navigate, very colorful, very user-friendly. So use a user-friendly design so persons can go through your website easily, find what they want, find the solution to their problem, right? And once you're doing a website, also make it logical. If you're doing a one pager, like, you have your landing page, and you may have two or three other page, make your links easy, accessible, so that persons aren't mulling around to say, okay, where do I go to get the price? How do I go to book an appointment? Or where do I go to order something, right? So make sure that it's logical and it's very structured. And whether it's a one pager or maybe a three-page website, have your filters, have your menu bars, have your navigation bars. These are just some basic things that you'll need in a website to get you going. So user-friendly must be top of mind when you're thinking about creating that online presence. And a lot of time we will think, okay, so I've now launched my website. How do I get paid for my goods and service? What is out there? Some of the gateways that are there are Shopify. Once again, we're probably very familiar with that. PayPal, Stripe, and Square. Stripe and Square to me are probably some of the newer ones that have been launched, but these are some of the options that you can actually look in when you're thinking of a payment gateway on your website. However, I am familiar with other small business owners that uses neither of these. So don't let not having a payment website or any one of these steps that I've listed out here or any one of these factors kind of deter you from creating a website. My massage therapist, she has a very beautiful website, but guess what? I pay her via e-transfer. So she has a well-registered, established business for over 20 years, but she doesn't use PayPal or Shopify. I pay her via e-transfer, but that did not stop her from setting up her business. So don't let, okay, I only have a one-page website, I don't have a payment gateway, stop you from launching your business. Go ahead and launch once you're thinking about it. But these are just some of the options that you could look into once you're setting up your website, right? Or you'd eventually want to have once you've established that website. So we're looking at another tools and activities section for the launching of our website that we talked about earlier. And as I always say, I'm a very pen to paper type of person. So in today's technology world, maybe I could say to some extent I also use Excel, but one of the first thing you want to look at when you're doing anything is documentation. So when you're choosing a platform, for example, you should have like a platform comparison matrix. It doesn't make sense you're saying, oh, I looked at let me even go back to some of the others. I looked at Shopify, I looked at Wix. How much did this one say they're offering versus that one? Have something written down so that you can make a note of all the features, the different options that they have, the ease of use, uh, how scalable is it? So if I start with a one pager, how could I then build out from that? How easy will that platform allow me to build on my website, right? So you'd want to document that. In terms of your product listing template, that's another great thing to have when you're thinking of doing having a platform or having your product or service on a platform. And what this does is that it helps you to streamline the process of creating and managing like your product pages, as we spoke about earlier. And once you have this going, it will lead to a consistent and user-friendly experience for the customers since they are at the forefront of your business. And the next thing you want to have is probably like a store setup checklist, right? And what this does is that it acts as a roadmap guiding you through all the necessary stages to setting up your business. And you could always research others, but what you want to do is have some stuff like templates or matrices once you're looking at choosing some of your platforms. Now, a very important step and one that I normally get very excited about is developing your brand. So I'm going to pause a little here and just ask a question. You could drop your answer in the chat or you could unmute. In going through this presentation, what's one of the things that you have noticed so far in the presentation? Like, what's one thing that's probably you could say is consistent?
Color scheme.
Pardon?
Your color scheme.
My color scheme, that's it. So I love blue. It's my favorite color, particularly this shade, and I love yellow. Yellow, it brings a light. You think of just happiness and everything, and it balances to me each other out. So a lot of stuff that I do, it's going to be there. Blue, yellow. I've developed more than one logo. I do have a very simple logo, but I also have another logo, which is also blue and yellow. And that is the thing. When you have thought of your product or your service and you're now going to offer it in the e-commerce space, you have to build your brand. The first thing you want to do is the business name and logo.
Sorry, Patria, if I could just,
Yeah.
Diana has also offered that all of your slides are very organized and structured.
Thank you. That's definitely more a personality. Thank you, Diana. But thank you so much. The main response though was, or one of the things I wanted to draw in was the real color scheme. But thank you so much. Um, just to continue, so this template was not necessarily just picked randomly. It was like a deliberate attempt to have the colors distributed a particular way, and as Diane pointed out, have it organized and structured because of what I wanted to present, which probably will tie in with brand identity, right? And that's how it will be when you're developing your brand. Create a strong business name and logo because it is important to create a memorable first impression. Listen, especially as small business owners or as women out there, don't be afraid to take up space, right? And one of the way to take up space is in your business name, is in your brand, it's in your logo. So have that brand identity. Don't be afraid to put your personality out there when you're thinking of launching. It's one of the most authentic part of you, I believe, just overall. So when you're thinking brand identity, you have to think of how do you want your business to be perceived by the customers. And as Diana pointed out, I want persons when they hear about Dontria Consulting or whatever business I have out there, think about one of the things we're going to be organized, right? So brand identity is all about how do you want to be perceived by your customers. You must ensure that you have strong brand identity. Now, creating a consistent and recognizable image amongst platforms is also one of the main reasons why you're going to want to have a business name and a logo. Um, as well. And the brand identity is important because when you're doing e-commerce, you're not going to be limiting yourself to just a website, just Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or you're not limiting yourself to just one platform. So what you want to do is ensure that you're creating consistent and recognizable images amongst all the platform. And it also sets you apart from your competitors, right? No two persons may have, well, shouldn't have the same logo, and similar for stuff in your brand identity. It would set you apart from your competitors. The other thing you want to do, and I think a lot of us may take this for granted, is copywriting your product page. right? You need to have compelling information to convince customers to buy your product or service. So, as I mentioned earlier, most of the time you won't necessarily have a different product to offer or a different service to offer. However, it's how you present it that will make a difference, right? So you need to ensure that your information that you're putting out there is compelling so that persons are attracted to your product or service. And of course, visual content creation. Have things that capture, while you want to stay relevant or true to who you are, have images that will capture your customer's attention, and it should also enhance your product or service appeal. So bear that in mind in terms of the color scheme that you may use and how you present yourself, your product or your service, right? Visual content creation in this day and age is extremely important to stay relative. And of course, once you have decided to launch your business, you have to have legal essentials in place. You have to make sure that your business is registered, or you should make sure that it is registered, right? Um, you need to have legal essentials like policies in place. We talk about business registration, and you're doing all of this to protect your business from potential liabilities, as well as ensuring compliance with local laws and regulations. So you have to operate in the right once you've now decided to step out in that space, right? So make sure that everything is legalized. And some of the ways we can do this that I mentioned earlier is have a brand tone of voice worksheet, have policy templates, or doing branding board templates, right? Once again, it helps you to separate yourself, put your thoughts to paper, and build from there. Now, another exciting thing is driving traffic to your business. So you've created your business plan, you've picked your platform, you've developed your brand. What's next? To me, this is where the real work begins. You want to drive traffic to your business. You want to pull people in. And some of the ways of doing that is ensuring that you have search engine optimizations and content marketing. Once you have correct keywords, you've worded your stuff properly, you've legalized your business, you put yourself out there, then it improves the visibility of your website or your e-commerce business, and it allows you to attract your target market. It also brings about brand authority because now persons are knowing who you are, and content marketing is also more like target marketing. So it's drawing people into you. I mentioned earlier, sometimes you have to, it takes money to make money. So if you want to put yourself out there, you're probably going to some of these meetings, you're on certain Facebook groups doing your marketing. You could invest in paid advertisement in certain spaces like Instagram. And well, I'm not really so familiar with like the Facebook ads, but they're really not that expensive to pay for a day, pay for a week, right? You want to have paid ads, which should be strategic, targeting your audience across different platforms. Because once again, you're not going to limit yourself to just one platform. So paid ads is a great way to drive people to your business. Now, once you're on some of the platforms or social media platforms, you'll find that there's a difference within setting up one for your business and one on the personal sides. Once you're set up like a business Instagram, a business Facebook page, it actually gives you analytics. Even your very website will provide some amount of analytics, and you want to pay attention to this, right? So, what KPI tracking and analytics does, and KPI is like key performance index tracking and analytics, is that it gives you insight as to your reach. Who is really seeing the information that I'm putting out there? Who is seeing my business? Who is seeing my products or my service, right? And then it will help you to market better. It helps with website optimization, and it also helps with customer engagement. Because if you're doing something and it's not getting the reach you want, then you may have to pivot with how you do things, right? And say, okay, my ad is reaching only to here, or persons in just this geographic region. What can I do to expand on that so that I can draw persons that are within a particular region to see my ad? Do I change my hashtags? Like, what do I do, right? Social media. I'm assuming that once you're on this webinar, then if you're looking at e-commerce, you can't be too shy with working with social media. You have to get comfortable. Like, do not discount. So I'm not saying we need anyone to go out and be an influencer or anything like that, but social media and email marketing will play a great deal in driving traffic to your business. Research stuff like hashtags. It don't just hashtag everything for argument's sake. Figure out which hashtag works better on which day. Figure out when is the best time to post. When will be the best time I'm going to reach my audience? Which days of the week, which time of day? So these are some of the stuff that social media and email marketing you'll have to keep in the back of your mind when you're thinking of driving traffic to your business. And lastly, a marketing calendar planning. It doesn't have to necessarily be overwhelming when you're looking when you're working in the e-commerce space and thinking about e-commerce marketing. Once again, a lot of platforms allows you to schedule your content. So if you know that I want to post 3 times per week, 5 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but I don't want to do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. From maybe the Saturday, you could create those 3 posts and have it scheduled to be released on those particular day at a particular time, right? So you could plan accordingly and target your ads and create like a planning calendar and have that running. So don't be afraid to leverage social media and everything that comes with it. It's really just not about posting. Don't be afraid to leverage everything that comes with it to help you to drive traffic to your business. And I'd probably mentioned some of these already, like having a search engine optimization checklist, email listing building guide. And what this does is that if you're probably into writing or sending out, what do we call it now? Maybe little emails or marketing activities, then you'll have an email list of persons that you'll constantly send out blasts to, as well as you can always build on that. And what it does is that it fosters brand loyalty, right? It will increase your sales and it builds a stronger customer base. So we're coming to the final stage now, or the final step in doing our e-commerce business, and that is manage and grow your business. So you're going on smoothly, the business has launched. How do you manage and grow it? And you want to talk about the fulfillment, how do you fulfill the orders, the customer support, and growing or scale your business, right? Um, if you're more into delivering products than service, so if it's more focused on a product than a service, then you want to focus heavily on order fulfillment, inventory, and shipping. How am I going to get my stuff out there? Once again, are we going to be doing drop shipping? You could look at using a third party logistics. So leverage like your local shipping companies to get your products out there, or Canada Post, or something. Develop a relationship with persons that can move your product from one point to the next. So very similar to all of us who have shopped on Amazon or any other retail store. How do you get your product out there? For inventory and shipping, it's crucial for order fulfillment, right? By managing inventory accurately, which means keeping a tab of what you have and what you can offer, then you won't have to worry about overstocking. And it helps you to optimize your fulfillment process. So, what this does is that it will definitely lead to customer satisfaction because you'll have the product on hand. it will lead to increased sales and it will also foster profitability in your business. From a service perspective, though, you may want to focus on standard operating procedures in your business. Once you've started your business and as it grows or scale, as we like to call it, then having well documented procedures, it helps you to build a strong brand reputation and long-term customer loyalty. Having SOPs also mean not necessarily reinventing the wheel each time either, right? So it also means that you're increasing efficiency in what you offer. In addition to that, it allows you to, well, as I mentioned, build long-term customer loyalty and satisfaction amongst your customers. Now, the next thing you want to do if you're in a service industry, and this could also apply for products, is make sure that you're having feedback and performance review. It is always great to get feedback because to me, if you're not getting feedback, then how do you know how can you grow? So getting feedback, it helps you to grow and pivot in your business, right? And you would want to create, especially on your platform, that page. So it's not just for the testimonials, but also maybe somewhere where you could get feedback so that you can reinvent each time or pivot each time in your business or improve. And some of the growth tactics that you can look at in e-commerce to help you manage and grow is like looking at customer acquisition, retention, or revenue generation through, we talk about social media, email marketing, and improving customer service. So some of the, just want to look at some activities that you could use to help you with fulfillment and scaling. I always talk about like the KPIs because to me, it's like a pulse check on how we are doing. Once you start to leverage like your Google Analytics or whatever platform you're on, those analytics, then it keeps abreast, it helps you to keep abreast of what's happening, right? We're living in a data-driven society. So having these data on hand, it can help your business monitor the progress towards your goal, identify areas of improvement, and also it helps you to make data-driven decisions. So you may want to probably have like a KPI dashboard for your business or something that's tracking and recording the information for how your e-commerce business is performing. And as we wrap up, as I mentioned, one of the things that we want to talk about is adapting to trends. So we started out by giving a quote, and we're going to basically end by giving one. The only thing that is constant is change. And today's market, you have to be adaptable to growth. Now, some ways of doing this is by meeting the evolving needs of the customers, right? Leveraging new trends so you can open yourself to additional revenue streams and also to gain a competitive advantage. You want to ensure that you're meeting customer satisfaction, right? And this is where we, as I mentioned, meeting the evolving needs. The customer won't want the same thing every day or every time. So sometimes you may have to revamp your website or revamp the product or service that you're offering. Once you adapt to what is out there or the change in the market, then as I mentioned, it will give you that competitive advantage over your competitor. So streamline your operations, eliminate redundancies in what you're doing, and it will definitely improve your efficiency. And of course, all of these will lead to revenue growth and brand reputation. Once you're doing something and you're doing it well, then you would only get better, right? So you do all of these things, you adapt to the trends to keep your brand relative. Now, similar to how you may change your decor in your house to match the season, probably like me, or shop for clothes that are fashionable or something like that, the same effort has to be in place to make your brand relevant and adapting to trends in today's society. And some of the ways in which you're going to do that and to thrive online is to always ensure that you're just having that customer-centric approach. Whether it's a goods or service, then customer has to be at the base of your business, right? So always remember that you have to remain customer-centric, focus on the client's needs and preferences, have that omnichannel presence where you're providing a seamless shopping experience across multiple channels. Data. Make data-driven decisions. Don't just change this and change that without seeing what the analytics are saying. And you have to have robust marketing, which, as we pointed out earlier, it doesn't have to be that cumbersome as we think, right? So providing an exceptional customer experience is crucial for building loyalty, driving repeat businesses, right? So just to recap, some of the things that we want to do, our strategies to enhance our experience in the e-commerce business would be personalizing your brand, using a user-friendly website, making sure that you have proper customer support, having some loyalty programs, and never underestimate customer feedback. Sometimes it's good to fail fast and fail early, and this is where customer feedback then comes in and help you to also grow fast. I'm sorry about that. And just lastly, how we can do this is also making sure that we're leveraging AI. So AI is here, it's not going anywhere. Do not shy away from the use of it. It can help you to personalize your offerings and just lean into it and let artificial intelligence and big data just work for you in this e-commerce space. And that's it. Thank you everyone for listening, and I hope you did learn a lot today.
Thank you so much, Patria. Wow, that was really an action-packed presentation and really informative. And I know there have been some little questions in the chat that people are wanting to ask you. So I would invite all of you, if you have questions right now, please just unmute yourself and yeah, go for it. Selena was offering in the chat that shipping is so expensive, and shipping could make or break someone buying at maybe local. Selling local is a solution. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and Anna was saying, this is gold. Can we please get the slides? And the answer to that, Anna, is yes. Kylie edits our communications folks edit the presentation so that there is no personal information contained in the tape. And so that should be ready in about a week's time, and you are more than welcome to email communications@Peril and ask her for the link.
Okay.
So Patricia, one of the things,
Sure.
and Selena's right, one of the things that we are absolutely challenged with, we do have an e-commerce site for the business. I am finding that customers are exiting their cart. I think when I think about the reasons why they might be exiting the cart, shipping, I believe, comes to mind. It's very challenging, and I'm going to speak for Northern Ontario because I'm pretty far up north. So I find that shipping is number one reason why people are exiting our shopping cart.
Mm-hmm.
Any maybe suggestions with respect to what we can do when it comes to shipping? It's really affected. So, and I'll give you an example. We're
Sure.
paying about $75 a month right now for our e-commerce platform. I'm a firm believer that if I'm spending money, I want that to make me money, right?
That's
We're in
right.
business. But right now I'm not even if I had 4 people who were in the cart but didn't complete the cart, I would say that my suspicions would be it's the shipping. And it's difficult to set that up. So I'm open to suggestions because I've even gone to the postal service where they offer boxes where it's a flat rate, whether it's the weight or not, because it's based on dimensions. And still people are exiting the cart. So yeah, it's a #1 challenge on the e-commerce platform, and then trying to understand what's psychologically is going to help that customer go ahead and finish their shopping cart.
Okay, so what I would say, I'm not sure if you've used other local. I do find sometimes when you're shipping, sometimes DHL, UPS, they at times can be cheaper than Canada Post. They also do that charge with weight and so on, but there are times I find them cheaper and also faster than Canada Post. So if you think it's shipping or the shipping cost, then that's something you could look at. And there are also other local. So I'm in the Durham region, and I believe there are other local, maybe not so well known or popular shipping agencies that are out there that other persons have used to deliver their products. I could probably try and get that and share with Paro, and maybe they could send that out. But
Sure.
another reason for cart abandonment could be, or how to overcome that is maybe retargeting your ads, right? Um, you mentioned how much you're spending on the website, but what other platforms are you using to push your product then? So maybe you could look at retargeting ads, maybe email reminders if you do have a list. Um, when you're maybe on your website or when somebody's checking out, they may have to have their email address. Start collating that list and then send targeting ads to them of stuff you're promoting, for example, for this season. I see some beautiful stuff there behind you. Maybe they're seasonal. Is there a way that you could create a newsletter or something to them and send it out so that you're targeting a particular group, right? Or targeting email reminders. And just also make sure that your checkout process is very simple. So it's very easy, and these should help you to reduce your abandonment rate. So make sure it's not too cumbersome when you have to check out, maybe not too much clicking or too many things popping up to say, check this for monthly subscription or so on. So you just want to make it as seamless as possible. But those could be some of the things that you could look at for cart abandonment or to reduce cart abandonment.
Are you familiar with anyone, and maybe it's the way that I have the shipping actually set up? Is there anyone that could offer some coaching or guidance that you're aware of on how to set up shipping properly? Because maybe it's not properly set up based on what I'm doing. So that was the other thought that I had, because yeah, you can go through the tutorials on each of your domains and everything, but maybe I haven't set it up correctly, because that is to me a little bit of a block. And what's the best approach? Because pricing does change even with people who do have shipping available. Let's say if I do choose DHL because there's the best. And maybe I haven't set it up correctly. I don't know.
So that is definitely something I would have to take away. No one is really coming to mind presently, but that is something I could take away. I guess what you want is somebody to kind of review your website and just see how it is set up. I could take that away and probably connect or provide that information
Okay.
once again so that you can get it.
Can
Yeah.
can I ask a few
Sure.
questions, Diana?
Sure.
For your business, are you because have you experimented flat shipping rate and taking
Yeah.
notes on a few, because in my store, I have a flat shipping rate and I still get a lot of abandonment issues on the cart. So I feel like, I don't know, obviously your business role and like what's with your business, but it could also be that it's not just based on shipping. It could be something else. Just something to consider, because I dropped my shipping to like free for $50 and above, like a very small, like I was going to take the hit for that just to see if shipping was the reason why people were stopping buying from me. And that actually didn't resolve my issue. So for my store, I finally realized it wasn't about shipping, it's something else. So just FYI.
We have two
Yeah.
comments in the chat. One is to try ShipStation. This is from Anna for delivery. She says she's always searching for new shipping services and costs are crazy. And she also suggests emailing to recover the sale. And Aletha, I hope I'm saying that right, is asking if it's possible to change your pricing structure to cover a flat rate for shipping. So like adding another $15 to your product cost. She says she saw that in a webinar and it made a huge impression on her. So something to consider, I guess.
I
Well,
have to step out. I'm sorry, but I want to say thank you so much, Patricia, and to the group. I
You're
do have
welcome.
another meeting to attend, but I really do appreciate everyone's feedback, and it was a great presentation, and maybe we'll see you again.
I
You
hope
will.
so. I want to thank I too have another commitment, Patria, so I want to thank you on behalf
Bye,
of the
Diana.
group and just let everyone know that the recording will be available in about a week. And I have kept a list of everybody who's here today, so I will forward that on to communications and ask them to forward the recording, the link to the recording to all of you.
Okay, thank you, Marie.
Thank you so much, Patria. Lots to learn.
Thanks, everyone.
Take
Sure.
good care.
You too. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.